The evening sky was painted in soft shades of orange and purple as Daniel walked down the narrow road that led to his childhood town. His shoes pressed against the cracked pavement, making a dull sound in the quiet street. It had been years since he last came here, years since he left this place to chase work, life, and dreams somewhere else. But now he had returned. The air was different, too quiet. The houses looked the same, with old wooden fences, rusted mailboxes, and paint peeling from the walls. But the silence around them was heavy, almost unnatural, as if the whole town was holding its breath. Daniel slowed down near the park. It was the same park where he had played as a child. The swings creaked in the wind and the tall trees whispered as the evening breeze moved through their branches. He smiled faintly, remembering how he once built a treehouse there, and how he and his friends had spent whole summers running across the grass until the sun went down. But tonight, something felt wrong. As he stepped further, his eyes froze. On the broken swing, half rusted and hanging by a single chain, sat a woman. She was waiting as if she had been there for hours. Her long dark hair moved with the wind and her pale face glowed under the fading sunlight. She was beautiful, but there was something strange in her stillness, something that made Daniel's chest tighten. She lifted her head slowly, her eyes locked with his. They were sharp, bright, almost too bright. Daniel stopped walking. His voice caught in his throat. "Do I know you?" he asked carefully. The woman gave a small, quiet smile. Then, in a calm voice that carried an odd echo, she said, "Do you recognize me, human? I am your childhood neighbor." Her words struck him like cold water. Childhood neighbor? That made no sense. Daniel tried to remember every face from his past. The kids he used to run with, the families that lived on his street, the old woman with her cats, the farmer who sold eggs. But no matter how hard he tried, he could not remember her. "You're mistaken," Daniel said after a pause, his voice uneasy. "I don't remember you." Her smile faded, replaced by something softer, almost sad. "No, Daniel, you do not remember, but I remember you." A shiver ran down his spine. She knew his name. He had not told her. Daniel's hands curled into fists and he glanced around. The street was empty. The houses stood silent. It was just the two of them. Something deep inside told him to run, but his feet refused to move. "How do you know my name?" he asked. His voice was low now, almost a whisper. The woman stood up from the swing. She moved with a strange grace, each step quiet but heavy, as if the earth itself noticed her presence. She walked closer and the glow of her eyes became clearer. Not natural, not human. "When you were a boy," she said, her voice soft yet filled with weight, "you lost a toy spaceship near the big oak tree. You cried because you thought it was gone forever. The next morning, it was sitting at your doorstep. You believed your mother found it. But no, it was me. I gave it back to you." Daniel's heart skipped a beat. That memory was real. He had never told anyone. He thought it was luck, or maybe a small act of kindness from his mother. But this woman, this stranger, she knew it. His throat went dry. "Who are you?" The woman stopped just a few steps away from him. Her face was calm, but her eyes carried a storm. "I told you, I am your neighbor, your childhood companion, but I am not who you think I am." The wind blew harder, making the old swing squeak. The trees rustled louder. Daniel felt the world pressing against him as if time itself had slowed. She leaned closer, her voice lowering to a chilling whisper. "I am not human." The words cut through the silence. Daniel felt his stomach twist. His mind refused to accept it. Not human? Was this a joke? A trick? But no. Her eyes, her voice, her knowledge of his secret childhood memory. It was too real. He stepped back. "Stay away from me." But she did not move closer. She simply stood there watching him with those unnatural eyes. "Do not be afraid, Daniel. I am not here to harm you. I returned because you must know the truth. Because soon the world you know will change forever." Her words echoed in his mind. A strange heat burned inside his chest. Fear, confusion, and curiosity mixing all at once. The quiet town around him felt even emptier now, as if it was nothing but a stage for this single moment. Daniel stared at her, unable to look away. The woman who claimed to be his childhood neighbor. The woman who claimed not to be human. And deep inside he knew one thing. Whatever was happening tonight, his life would never be the same again. The forgotten past. Daniel's chest rose and fell heavily as he stared at the strange woman before him. The echo of her words, "I am not human," still rang in his ears. He wanted to believe she was lying, some stranger playing tricks on him, but her eyes told another story. They glowed faintly, carrying a light that no human eyes could ever hold. The silence around them was sharp. No dogs barked. No doors opened. It was as if the whole neighborhood had vanished, leaving only Daniel and this woman standing under the darkening sky. She tilted her head, studying his face like someone searching for a forgotten memory. "You do not remember me," she said softly. "But I remember you, Daniel. I was there when you laughed. I was there when you cried. I was there every summer when you climbed the old oak tree." Daniel's eyebrows furrowed. His mind struggled to make sense of her words. "That's impossible. I would remember someone like you." She smiled faintly, almost with sorrow. "Would you? Children forget more than they know. But let me help you remember." Her voice dropped lower, almost like a spell. "The summer of the lights. Do you recall it?" Daniel froze. A picture flickered in his mind, faint, blurry like an old photograph. He was 10 years old, lying in the grass one hot July night, staring at the stars. But then strange lights moved in the sky, not airplanes, not shooting stars. They moved in patterns like glowing dancers swirling above the town. He had told his parents, but they laughed. He told his friends, but they called it a dream. With time, even Daniel began to doubt it himself. But now, hearing her words, that forgotten memory rushed back with full force. "Yes," Daniel whispered. "The lights. I thought I made that up." The woman's eyes softened. "No, you did not imagine them. I was with you that night. I was sitting only a few steps away, though you never saw me as I truly was." Daniel's stomach tightened. He could see the boy he once was, lying in the grass, pointing at the sky. And suddenly he remembered something else, a shadow, a shape beside him. He had pushed it away in his mind, thinking it was a dream. But now that shadow took her form. Daniel's breath caught. "That was you?" "Yes." Her answer was simple, certain. He stepped back, shaking his head. "No, this can't be real. You expect me to believe you were my neighbor, hiding here all this time?" "I was hiding," she admitted. "But not from you. From the others. My people sent me here. I lived among you, but not like you. I played the part of a child, yet I was not one of you. And when my time ended, I was taken back." Daniel's skin prickled. The idea was too much. An alien living next door, a child who was never really human. His childhood memories suddenly felt unstable, as if cracks had opened in their surface. She took a step closer, her voice quiet, almost pleading. "Do you remember the treehouse?" Daniel blinked. The treehouse, of course. He had built it with broken wood and old nails behind his house. He spent hours there, drawing rockets and planets on scraps of paper. But then, he remembered something strange. Sometimes, when he climbed the ladder, he found extra drawings pinned to the wall, strange symbols mixed with his own childish sketches. He had always thought he drew them in half-sleep. I used to find drawings," he said slowly. "Symbols, not mine. I thought I made them in dreams." The woman's lips curved into a sad smile. "They were mine. I was trying to tell you in the only way I could. But you were too young to understand." Daniel's heart pounded. The pieces were falling together. The toy spaceship. The strange lights. The symbols in his treehouse. All small mysteries he had buried in his mind, now fitting like parts of a puzzle he had never realized existed. His throat tightened. "Why me? Why were you always around me?" Her eyes glimmered. "Because you were kind. Because you looked at the stars and dreamed while others only laughed. You did not fear what you did not understand. That made you different even as a child." Daniel felt his knees weaken. This woman, this being, was breaking open a part of his life he thought he knew. His past was not only his own. It was shared, watched, shaped by something far beyond human. The park lights flickered on, casting long shadows across the cracked pavement. She stepped back into the glow, her figure half lit, half dark. "You forgot me, Daniel," she said softly, almost with pain in her voice. "But I never forgot you. And now I have returned, not for myself, but for you. Because soon the world you know will no longer be safe." Daniel's breath caught. His chest felt heavy. Every nerve in his body screamed to run, but something stronger kept him rooted to the spot. An ache for answers, for truth. The forgotten past was no longer forgotten. It had returned to claim him. The revelation. The night grew darker, and the silence around Daniel felt heavier than before. The woman stood in the glow of the flickering streetlight, her eyes shining like hidden stars. Daniel could hear his own heartbeat thudding in his chest, loud in the stillness. He took a shaky breath. "You say you're not human. Then what are you?" The woman's expression did not change, but the air between them seemed to thrum with tension. She raised her hand slowly as if showing she meant no harm. Then with a flick of her fingers, a faint shimmer of light rippled across her skin. Daniel stepped back, his eyes widening. For a moment her face blurred, like water disturbed by a stone. The soft glow of her human skin faded, and beneath it he saw something else, something otherworldly. A faint pattern glowed across her cheek, like silver veins of light running beneath her flesh. Her pupils stretched thin, vertical like a cat's before softening back into human form. Daniel's throat tightened. That's not possible." "It is," she replied softly. "I was born far from this world. My kind has walked among humans for longer than you imagine. We wear your faces, learn your ways, and when the time comes we leave. I was one of them." Daniel shook his head, struggling to breathe. His voice cracked. "Why here? Why me? Why my town?" Her gaze held him steady. Because this town was small, quiet, and forgotten. It was a place where a child could blend without questions. And because of you. He frowned. "Me? Yes," her voice lowered. "I was sent here to watch and to learn. But I found something my people did not expect. You. A boy who looked at the stars with wonder, not fear. A boy who dreamed of more even when no one believed him. That is why I stayed near you." Daniel's mind spun. He wanted to reject her words, but every piece of his forgotten past now pointed to the same truth. The spaceship toy. The strange symbols. The lights in the sky. It was all connected. His voice trembled. "And then what? You left? Just disappeared?" Her eyes softened, filled with something that almost looked like regret. "When my time was done, I was called back. My body remained, but my true self was awakened and taken away. That is why no one remembers me clearly. I was not meant to be remembered." Daniel's stomach turned cold. "So everything I thought I knew, my childhood, it wasn't real?" "No," she said firmly. "Your childhood was real. Your laughter, your tears, your days in the sun, those were yours. But I was there, hidden in the edges of it. I was a shadow beside you, learning what it meant to be human." The wind rustled through the trees, carrying with it the distant creak of the swing. Daniel pressed his hand against the rough bark of a tree, grounding himself as his world tilted on its side. "You said you weren't here for yourself," he muttered. "Then why are you back?" Her expression darkened. For the first time he saw fear in her eyes. "Because something is coming. Something that will not leave this world untouched. My people have seen it. They know the danger, but they do not care. They will not warn you. They will watch to see how humans respond. But I could not stay away. I came back because I remembered you." Daniel's pulse raced. "Danger? What kind of danger?" She hesitated. Her gaze lifted to the night sky, where faint stars blinked through the dark. "Another race. Not like mine. They do not come to watch. They come to conquer, to feed. They will see your world as weak. Easy prey." Daniel's breath caught. His mind raced to the glowing lights he once saw as a child. "You mean aliens? More aliens?" "Yes," her voice was quiet, heavy. "And they are not far." The streetlight above them flickered again, buzzing as if the electricity itself shivered at her words. Daniel felt the weight of the night pressing harder on his shoulders. He rubbed his face with trembling hands. "This is insane. I came back here thinking I'd find memories. Maybe peace. Instead, I find this. You." The woman stepped closer, her expression soft but firm. "Daniel, I know it is hard to believe, but the truth is no longer far away. You will see it with your own eyes soon. The question is, will you be ready?" Daniel swallowed hard. "Why me? Why tell me?" "Because you were never blind," she said simply. "Even as a boy, you saw what others could not. You questioned when others laughed. And now, you are one of the few I can trust." Her words settled into him like stones dropped in water, rippling through his thoughts. He wanted to deny it, to run from her, but something deep inside whispered that she was telling the truth. Daniel looked at her, really looked. She was not just a stranger, not just a mystery. She had been part of his life all along, hidden in ways he had never seen. And now she stood before him, asking him to believe in something greater than himself. The air grew colder and Daniel shivered. His past had cracked open and now the future loomed like a shadow over him. The woman's voice was steady, unshaken. I am your neighbor, Daniel. I always was. But I am more than that. And if you choose to walk away, I will not stop you. But know this, the storm is coming whether you believe or not. Daniel's chest tightened. He looked at her glowing eyes, at the weight in her words, and he knew one thing. His life had already changed. The warning the night had settled over the small town like a heavy blanket. The street lamps glowed faintly, their light dim against the endless black sky. Daniel stood frozen, his hands clenched at his sides. His mind spun with the woman's words, a storm is coming. She watched him quietly, her eyes reflecting the pale light. There was no hint of a joke in her expression, no trick. Only certainty. Daniel finally found his voice. What storm? What's coming here? The woman stepped closer, lowering her tone as if the shadows themselves might be listening. They are not like my people, Daniel. They do not hide. They do not study. They conquer. They take what they want and they leave nothing behind. Daniel's chest tightened. His throat went dry. Aliens? You're telling me invaders are on their way? Yes. Her eyes lifted toward the stars where faint silver dots shimmered. They travel in silence, cloaked from human eyes. But their path is clear. Earth is in their way, and they do not pass by empty-handed. Daniel shook his head, his voice sharp. That's madness. If they're real, why doesn't anyone else know? Why hasn't the government seen them? Satellites, telescopes, someone would notice. Her lips curved in a bitter smile. Do you believe your governments are blind? No, they know. But they are proud. They think themselves ready, though they are not. They will deny what they cannot control, until it is too late. Her words struck Daniel harder than he expected. He had read stories, seen movies about secrets hidden by those in power. But this was different. This was not fantasy. The woman standing before him was proof. He rubbed his forehead, pacing a few steps. This can't be real. How do I even believe you? For all I know, you're lying. You're some trick, some government experiment gone wrong. She tilted her head, her glowing eyes never leaving him. If I wanted to deceive you, Daniel, I would not show you my face. I would not speak your name. I would not risk returning here at all. Her voice softened. I came because of you. Because I remember the boy who looked at the sky and wondered. You may doubt me, but you cannot doubt yourself. The lights you saw as a child were real. You saw them when others laughed. Daniel stopped pacing. Her words cut deep because she was right. He had always remembered that strange summer night, even when everyone else dismissed it. His voice lowered. Why warn me? I'm no soldier. I'm no leader. I can't stop them. The woman's gaze held steady, calm but heavy with meaning. Because you still have a choice. You can walk away and live in ignorance like the rest, or you can prepare. You can see the truth before the others, and perhaps when the time comes you can help them stand. Her words made his stomach twist. He wanted to argue, to tell her she was wrong, that he was just an ordinary man. But something in her voice and the way she spoke pressed against the doubt in his heart. Prepare? Daniel asked, his voice tight. Prepare how? What am I supposed to do? Fight an entire army with my bare hands? A shadow of a smile touched her lips, not mocking but sad. Not alone. Humans are stronger than they realize. You fight for each other when it matters. That is what my people never understood. That is why I trust you. Daniel swallowed hard. The weight of her words felt like stone pressing on his chest. He turned his eyes to the dark horizon, searching for comfort in the familiar outline of the houses, the park, the old oak tree. But instead of comfort, he felt unease. The quiet seemed too deep, the sky too wide, as if something already watched from above. He forced his voice to steady. How long? When are they coming? Her eyes flickered, glowing faintly brighter. Soon, too soon. They move in silence, but I can feel the tremors of their path. They are closer than you think. Daniel's blood ran cold. He wanted to believe this was only a nightmare, some strange dream he would wake from in the morning. But every fiber of his body told him otherwise. He stared at her, desperate. Why don't your people stop them? If they know, why do nothing? Her expression darkened. Because they do not care. To them, Earth is only a place to watch, to measure, to judge. They will let the others come. They will let you fight alone, and if you survive, only then will they decide if you are worthy. Daniel's chest heaved. Worthy? Worthy of what? She held his gaze. Of survival. Of respect. Of being left to live in peace. If you fail, they will not mourn you. They will simply move on. A deep silence fell. The truth pressed against Daniel like a storm cloud, heavy and unstoppable. He looked around the empty street, the houses of his childhood, the quiet town that once felt safe. Now it felt fragile, like glass ready to shatter. His fists clenched. This is insane. I can't fight this. I can't even convince myself this is real. The woman stepped closer, her eyes glowing brighter, her voice steady and unshaken. You will believe, Daniel. Soon. Because when the first shadow falls across your sky, when the first scream echoes through your streets, you will remember tonight, and you will know that I spoke the truth. Daniel's heart pounded so hard it hurt. He wanted to run, but his legs would not move. He wanted to speak, but his voice was gone. The warning had been given. The storm was coming. Trust and doubt. Daniel stood rooted to the ground, his mind spinning in circles. The woman's warning echoed in his ears, but his heart fought against it. Every part of him wanted to reject her words, to believe that none of this was real. He rubbed his face, whispering to himself, This is insane. This can't be real. The woman watched him silently, her expression unreadable. She did not step closer, but her presence pressed against him all the same. At last she spoke. You doubt me. That is natural. Humans always doubt what they cannot see. Daniel snapped his head toward her, anger flaring through his fear. Of course I doubt you. You show up out of nowhere, claiming you are my neighbor, claiming you're not human, claiming the world is about to be invaded. What do you expect me to do? Just nod and believe you? Her glowing eyes softened. No, I expect you to see. Before Daniel could respond, she raised her hand. The air around her shimmered like heat rising from the pavement on a hot day. Slowly, her skin began to change again. The faint glow spread across her arms, thin lines of silver light tracing patterns under her flesh. Daniel's breath caught. His instincts screamed at him to run, but he couldn't move. He watched as her eyes shifted, glowing with a pale alien fire. When she spoke again, her voice carried two tones at once, one human, one otherworldly. This is what I am, she said. Not a mask. Not a trick. This is me. Daniel stumbled back, his heart hammering in his chest. God, you're really not human. The woman's form shimmered again, and in an instant she returned to her human appearance. Her voice softened back to normal. Now you believe at least a part of me? Daniel's mind screamed with questions. What are you? What do you really look like? She shook her head gently. You are not ready to see all of me. If I showed you, it would shatter your mind. What you saw is enough. Proof that my words are not lies. Daniel dragged his hand through his hair, pacing in small circles. Every step he took was heavy, as if the ground itself had doubled in weight. He stopped suddenly, pointing a finger at her. Why me? Out of all the people in this world, why tell me? Why not tell the government? The military? Someone who could actually do something? Her voice was calm, steady. Because they would not listen. They would cage me, question me, try to use me as a weapon, and by the time they believed, it would be too late. You, Daniel, you listen. You feel, you question. That makes you different. He barked out a hollow laugh. Different? I'm just an ordinary man. I have no power, no influence. I can't fight off invaders. I can barely accept what I'm seeing right now. She stepped closer, her eyes never leaving his. Ordinary men have changed history before. Ordinary men have carried burdens greater than themselves. You do not need power to see the truth. You only need courage. Daniel's chest tightened. Her words struck deeper than he wanted to admit. But the doubt inside him fought back. Courage? That sounds nice, but it doesn't stop spaceships from burning down cities. Her expression grew serious. You are right. Courage alone is not enough. That is why I brought something else. She reached into the folds of her coat. Daniel tensed, ready to step back, but she pulled out a small object, flat, metallic, and glowing faintly blue. She pressed it in her palm, and a sudden burst of light filled the air between them. Daniel gasped. Floating above the device was a map of stars, shining like tiny diamonds in the night. The image spun slowly, lines connecting constellations. But then the map shifted, zooming closer to Earth. Daniel's eyes widened. Dark shapes appeared on the outer edge of the map. Triangular figures, sharp and menacing, moving slowly but steadily toward Earth's glowing sphere. His stomach dropped. What is that? Their fleet, she whispered. Already on its way, Daniel staggered back. He wanted to deny it, to claim it was a trick, some advanced hologram. But the terror in her eyes was real, too real. She closed her hand and the map vanished. The night returned, empty and quiet. Now you understand why I came. You may doubt me, but you cannot doubt what you saw. Daniel's legs felt weak and he leaned against the rough bark of the tree behind him. He stared at the ground, his voice barely a whisper. Why me? Why tell me? Because you were the only one I trusted, she said softly. When I was a child among you, you treated me as a friend. You never mocked, never judged. That kindness stayed with me even when I was taken away. I remembered you. That is why I am here now. Daniel looked up at her, confusion and fear fighting in his chest. He wanted to push her away, to tell her to leave him alone. But part of him, a small part, wanted to believe, wanted to trust. His voice cracked. I don't know if I can do this. I don't even know if I can believe all of this. She stepped closer, her voice low but firm. You do not need to believe right away. But when the sky burns, when the first shadow falls, you will remember tonight, and you will know that I was right. Daniel closed his eyes, his breath trembling. Trust and doubt battled inside him like two storms colliding. He didn't know which would win, but he knew one thing. His world would never be the same again. The choice. The street was silent, but inside Daniel's mind a storm raged. His heart pounded, his thoughts twisted, and his chest ached with the weight of what he had seen. The glowing map. The ships drifting closer to Earth. The woman's unshaken eyes. He pressed his palms against his face and whispered, Why me? I don't want this. I didn't ask for this. The woman stood a few steps away, still and calm as if she carried the patience of centuries. Her voice was quiet, almost gentle. You did not ask. But sometimes choice comes not when we want it, but when it cannot be avoided. Daniel dropped his hands and looked at her sharply. I can avoid it. I can walk away. Pretend this never happened. Go back to my life. You could, she said softly. You could live as if nothing is coming. Many will. They will laugh at the sky until it burns. They will deny the danger until it stands at their doors. But you would not be one of them. Even if you tried to forget, you would remember. The truth would eat at you. Daniel turned away from her, staring at the cracked pavement. His fists trembled. I'm not a soldier. I'm not a leader. What do you expect me to do? Save the world with my bare hands? Her steps were light as she moved closer. No, I expect you to choose. To stand when others run. To see when others close their eyes. You may not be a soldier, but you are human. And humans are stronger together than any army I have ever seen. Daniel let out a bitter laugh. Stronger? We fight each other. We destroy our own planet. And you think we're ready to fight invaders? She met his gaze steadily. That is why I stayed near you as a child. Because even in the smallest town, even in the heart of a boy, I saw something different. Hope. Curiosity. The courage to believe in more. That is what you have. That is what your people need. Her words dug deep, pulling at memories Daniel had buried. The boy who stared at the stars, dreaming of other worlds. The boy who never stopped asking what if. That boy still lived in him. But the man he had become had forgotten. His voice trembled. You make it sound simple. But it isn't. If I believe you, if I choose this, there's no going back. I'll lose everything. The woman's expression softened. Sometimes to protect what we love, we must risk it. If you walk away, you may live in peace for a little while. But when the ships arrive, there will be no safety, no peace. Not for you, not for anyone. The wind stirred the trees, carrying the faint creak of the old swing. Daniel's chest tightened as he stared at the ground. The choice felt like a stone crushing him. Stay blind and safe, or open his eyes and step into fear. At last he raised his head. If I say yes, what happens then? The woman's eyes glowed faintly. Then I will show you more.
I will prepare you.
I will give you knowledge your leaders will not share. And when the time comes, you will not stand alone. Daniel's breath caught. And if I say no? Then I will leave, she said simply. And you will never see me again. You will live your life as you choose. But when the sky burns, you will remember tonight and regret your silence. The words sank deep, heavy as lead. Daniel closed his eyes, trying to picture the two paths before him. One was safe, ordinary, filled with the comfort of ignorance. The other was dark, dangerous, filled with fear, but also with truth. He thought of his childhood dreams, the nights he lay on the grass watching the stars, wondering if someone was out there. He thought of the strange memories he had buried, the toy spaceship, the glowing lights, the drawings in his treehouse. He thought of her, this strange neighbor, this alien who remembered him even when he forgot her. When he opened his eyes, his voice was steady, though soft. "If I do this, there's no turning back." "No," she agreed. "There is not." A long silence followed. Daniel's heart pounded. His throat felt dry. And then, with a breath that shook his whole body, he whispered, "I'll do it. I'll believe you. I'll help." The woman's eyes glowed brighter, filled not with triumph but with relief. "Then you have chosen, and because of that you will not face what comes as a blind man. You will face it with sight." Daniel's body trembled, but his decision was made. His life was no longer ordinary. He had stepped across an invisible line and there was no return. The woman looked at him, her voice steady. "We must move quickly. The night is short and time is already running out." But before Daniel could answer, a faint hum broke the silence. It came from above, low and distant, like thunder behind the clouds. Daniel lifted his head, his stomach dropping. The stars overhead flickered strangely, as if something moved between them. The woman's expression hardened. She whispered, "It seems your choice came not a moment too soon." Daniel's chest tightened. He didn't know what was coming. He only knew that he had chosen his side. The cliffhanger. The hum grew louder, a deep vibration that seemed to crawl into Daniel's bones. He stood frozen in the park, his eyes locked on the sky. The stars above flickered unnaturally, vanishing and reappearing as if something massive passed between them. Beside him, the woman's face hardened. Her glowing eyes narrowed. "They are closer than I thought," she whispered. Daniel's chest tightened. He wanted to deny it, to tell himself it was only the wind or an airplane or some trick of his mind. But the sound was real and it was growing. The night air trembled. Leaves rustled violently, though no wind blew. The old swing squeaked and twisted, straining against its rusted chain. The ground beneath Daniel's feet seemed to hum in answer to the sound above. He whispered hoarsely, "Is it them?" The woman's voice was low and certain. "Yes, they're scouts." Daniel's mouth went dry. He had only just chosen to believe her, and already the nightmare was unfolding. He turned toward her, panic rising in his voice. "What do we do? We can't fight something like that." She raised a hand, steady, commanding calm. "Not yet. We do not fight tonight. We survive, we watch, and we learn." Her eyes lifted again. Daniel followed her gaze. From behind the clouds, shapes began to emerge, silent, triangular shadows blotting out the stars. They moved with unnatural precision, slow and deliberate, like predators circling prey. A faint blue glow pulsed along their edges, sending streaks of light across the dark sky. Daniel's stomach twisted. The ships were enormous, larger than anything human hands could build. They floated soundlessly like blades cutting through the heavens. One of them tilted slightly and a beam of pale light swept across the horizon. The houses, the streets, the trees, everything was touched by its glow for only a second, then swallowed back into darkness. Daniel's breath caught in his throat. He crouched lower behind the tree without thinking. "They're searching," he whispered. The woman nodded. "Yes, they are marking the ground, mapping, deciding where to strike first." Her calmness only made Daniel's fear worse. He pressed his back against the tree, his chest heaving. "And no one else can see this? No one else is out here?" "They will not notice," she replied. "The lights will be dismissed as tricks. The sound will be mistaken for thunder. Humanity will sleep through the warning." Daniel clenched his fists, helpless rage mixing with terror. "But I see it, I hear it, and I can't do anything." The woman turned her head toward him, her eyes glowing faintly in the shadows. "Not yet. But you will. This is why I came back. Because when the sky falls, there must be at least one who does not turn away." The hum deepened. More shapes slid out of the clouds, their triangular forms drifting together like a silent fleet. They hovered in eerie stillness, their lights pulsing in rhythm like a heartbeat. Then, for a brief moment, the largest ship lowered. Its glow brightened until the entire park was bathed in pale light. Daniel felt the air thicken, heavy, pressing down on his chest. His ears rang with a strange static and his vision blurred at the edges. He stumbled, gasping. "What's happening?" The woman gripped his arm firmly, steadying him. "Stay still. They are scanning. Do not move." Daniel froze, his body trembling. The light swept over them, cold and merciless. For a few eternal seconds, he felt as if something vast and intelligent was peering straight into him, stripping away every secret, every thought. Then, just as suddenly, the light vanished. The ships drifted higher, their glow dimming. Slowly, they retreated back into the clouds, their shadows melting into the night sky. The hum faded. The silence returned. Daniel collapsed against the tree, his breath ragged. Sweat clung to his forehead and his heart raced so fast he thought it might burst. They saw us. They must have seen us. The woman shook her head, her expression calm but grim. No, we were only dust to them tonight. They did not look closely. This was only a test, a warning. Daniel lifted his face to the empty sky, disbelief and dread fighting inside him. If this was only a test, what happens when they really come? The woman's voice was quiet, almost mournful. Then the world will burn. Her words hung in the air like smoke. Daniel pressed his palms to the ground, grounding himself, trying to hold on to something real. His town, his childhood home, the old oak tree. Everything felt fragile now, like a dream ready to shatter. At last, he looked at her, his voice hoarse. So this is it? This is how it begins? She nodded slowly. Yes, and you must remember, Daniel, this is only the first shadow. More will follow, stronger, closer. And when they do, you cannot run. The night was quiet again, but Daniel's world was no longer the same. He had seen them. The invaders. The truth. And though the ships had vanished back into the sky, their presence lingered like a stain. He knew they would return. He knew the storm she spoke of was already on its way. The woman's glowing eyes met his. Her voice was steady, final. It has begun, Daniel's breath caught. He stared into the sky, into the darkness where the ships had disappeared, and he realized with bone-deep certainty, his choice was real. The warning was real. And the war for Earth had already started.